Bayezid of Bastam was a supreme Sufi master with many followers and devotees. He was famous for his seemingly mad utterances, which erupted from him when he went into trance. Those who knew him well and loved him unconditionally were familiar with his unusual states of mind and turned a blind eye to his peculiarities, letting him exaggerate as much as he liked. One fine spring day, Bayezid was in the company of his favorite students and felt exceptionally jolly, impatient to begin the Sama. Often while he whirled, he would experience highly charged states of mind, shrieking and repeating words that were incomprehensible to the others present. That day, his followers noticed that he was overexcited and that his actions were especially unusual. His mood was also somehow different from the other times when he became engrossed in spiritual rituals. Nevertheless, they didn't allow themselves to become concerned. The Sama started with the familiar sound of the reed, and before long Bayezid went into his trance as he whirled. "I am God," he began to shout, "and there's no other God but me." His devotees were flabbergasted, not knowing what to make of their master, for this was the first time they'd heard him uttering such unmistakably blasphemous words. However, already accustomed to his frequently unusual behavior, they didn't think too much of it. The next morning, though, they told Bayezid what he'd said the previous evening. "If I ever utter those words again, you have my permission to stab me repeatedly," he ordered. "In fact, kill me on the spot." The Murids took Bayezid's words literally, and each decided to carry a knife in his belt at all times, just in case. The following week, they all gathered for yet another session of Sama. Bayezid, as usual, became entirely overcome with excitement and began to whirl speedily, forgetting his instructions to his devotees of the week before. Soon he was in an exceptional trance and began to repeat, "I am God, I am God." This time his enthusiasm had no limits. The broad implications of his words rose to another level. Round and round he whirled, loudly praying all the while. "Under my shirt lives God," Bayezid shouted. "Why do you search for him on the earth or even in the sky?" The devotees found themselves at an impasse. They didn't want to stab their sheikh, yet they didn't want to disobey him either. Eventually, one by one, they pounced on Bayezid and began to thrust their daggers toward his body. One murid aimed for his throat to shut him up, while another went for his heart, and yet another plunged his dagger toward Bayezid's side, trying to make sure that the man was as good as dead. However, an odd sort of miracle occurred. With each forward thrust, the knife inexplicably spun around and stabbed the devotee instead of Bayezid. Each attempted blow at the master became an even more severe wound suffered by the murid wielding the knife, and in a few short minutes corpses piled around the room. There were a few men present who, despite their master's earlier order, had not had the heart to stab him. They stood by in a state of utter bewilderment, their tongues tied, watching the massacre. Their faith and trust in their sheikh, and perhaps the softness of their hearts, were what saved them. From that day on, people from faraway lands would come to sit at the foot of Bayezid to be in the presence of God.